Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you again, everyone, for joining in, and welcome to the Path You Take podcast, where the path you take is the path you make. Today, I'm joined by a respected brother, business owner, and entrepreneur, brother Ferose Kasimy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, how are you? How's everything? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate your
Thank you for
presence.
having me.
So tell me, brother, how's your day so far?
Well, so far it depends how the market is, how business is.
Oh my. Hopefully the market's moving.
No, alhamdulillah. It's just like the stock market,
Yeah,
business, life. It's always up and down. So you gotta ride the wave, as we say.
right away.
Yes.
So tell me, brother, how did you find yourself starting out and like taking a path in business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you gotta have passion.
Yeah.
You gotta have that desire, no matter what you want to do. As a young age, you know, your path is unknown in many ways, but uh, some people, like myself, uh, we had an understanding of what we wanted to do, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I had a passion and desire for business, entrepreneurship, investment, um, anything that involved controlling my own destiny. More to say, and that's the path I took.
And you found yourself taking that path with ease. Like I know, especially with Middle Eastern families, culture. It's like if you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not an engineer, you're not making it in life. So, did you come across any like obstacles with family wise? No, there was you can't do this. You have to go become a doctor. Yeah, like how did that kind of go around with you?
Yeah, so there's always obstacles and
Yeah,
challenges, especially unknown. Um, so when you start off in life and
yeah,
and career path, you go to school, you go to university, and you have a kind of an understanding because there's an outlined agenda, something that
the
has
clear pathway.
people have experienced and you can follow. Um, whereas business venture, it's unknown. I mean, sure, you can take examples and principles of what other people have accomplished,
Mhm.
but overall, it's unknown. So for myself, um, everybody's journey is different. For myself, I'll give you an example. When I was early 20s, I was working in a corporate environment in a company and very comfortable and a lot of opportunity. Um, I was regarded as a top level employee and I believe it was 23 years old, um, just recently engaged, starting a new life. Starting a new life, there's a lot of risks. And I was approached by the ownership of the company. Uh, this company, very reputable in the industry.
Mhm.
And they came to me and said, we would like you to one day become general manager of this company. And we're going to start training you and coaching you and mentoring you to become basically a leader of the company
Yeah,
and running the business one
yeah,
day. So at a young age, you have a great opportunity. And when I presented that to members of my family, my mother, father, and soon to be wife,
yeah.
they all said, that's amazing. It gives you security, it gives you assurance. Um, and, in that time, you're making, let's say, a young manager, 150,000 a year.
Yeah.
And for a young age like that, to take that assurance and security, and it's basically your career set. You don't need to worry anymore. So everybody was absolutely go for it, but they all knew who I was, and I said, but I still want to be a businessman. I want to
Yeah.
have my own business. So having, to balance and to decide between the two. For others, it's easy. It's like take that route. But for myself, that's not where my desire was. That's not where my passion was. So I had to go and tell the ownership
Yeah.
and say, I'm sorry, but I'll decline your offer. So, in coincidence, when I declined the offer, they actually respected that because I knew what I wanted. And a lot of people would maybe take that opportunity, to benefit themselves, and nobody would blame them because they're being opportunistic, um, you know, taking care of their family, taking their life, security wise,
Mhm.
and because I declined years later, those same individuals happened to become some. We did business together, and because we did business together, it came back like in circles. Um,
Full circle moment, yeah.
exactly. And if I would not have been real to them or real to myself, I wouldn't have had that opportunity, nor would they given me that opportunity. So business in general, um, it's not a straightforward path. Everybody's direction and approach is different.
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately, people have to understand what business is. Um, Business could be many, many different, um, basically approaches, such as if you are a doctor, you can be a businessman still. You can go and open a clinic and operate it yourself instead of working for somebody else.
Mhm.
If you are a mechanic, you can go open a body shop and work for yourself instead of working for others. And I could go on examples. I had a friend that was a good barber, and he said, "I'm going to open my own salon."
Yeah.
And so that is, what we call sole proprietorship, owner operator kind of business. And to me, yes, that's business, but you're just putting yourself in that opportunity where you're kind of setting yourself up differently and doing the same position, same job, but a different setup.
Mhm.
Now, when you go to different levels of business, corporate business, that's a little bit different. That one, you have to have a lot more skills. You have to have a lot more intangibles. You have to have the fully comprehension of what business is. Surround yourself with good people. Um, a lot more risk involved. So comparing the two, it's absolutely different,
Night and day difference,
unique.
yeah.
Each one is unique. So as an individual, when you're analyzing business, you have to understand what business is and what kind of business you would like. So everybody's different. Everybody's agenda and goals in life are different. So, for example, yourself, you know, for education, you started your education, and now you're gonna start a career.
Hopefully, inshallah. Yeah, I was gonna actually say so. Uh, I was working in a retail store as a manager for quite a bit of time. Different stores, different opportunities. You know, good salary. It's having that comfort and knowing, hey, the bills are gonna get paid and all that type of stuff. But it was actually 3 months ago that I quit my job, started my own thing on the side. So inshallah, that works out. Stay tuned, guys. We'll go into more detail what it is, hopefully soon. And you never know, it might be a sponsor. But yeah, so just taking a risk. But one thing I want to just pinpoint what you said earlier was just that level of honesty, both with yourself and with the peers you're working with, right? So, uh, you know, you've been in business for many years, and I've worked in the retail world as a manager for many years as well. And what I've always seen is that people are not always so honest, right? So if they see an opportunity, they'll grab it. It's a great opportunity, whether it be 150,000, 90,000, 200,000. And even if they're planning to leave in 6 months, a year time, like, let me get that experience, let me get that insider knowledge and just leave.
Yes.
But obviously that's not the best thing you should do, right? Because what you did had a this full circle moment where you ended up breaking bread with the same company you worked with before, and just having that level of honesty and level of passion where you just, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about. That's something I don't really see much these days. I'm sure, I don't know, in your line of business, that it's always hard to find that type of character where they're just, again, honesty, integrity. That's a big thing I've always been talking about. You could train something, you could train someone to do anything, but integrity, that's something that comes from within. You either have it or you don't. I cannot trade integrity, right? That's what I always told people.
Yeah.
And how I know you've gone to that, like, but how would you advise someone, let's say, where they want to be that honest themselves? Like, hey, I'm at a point in my life that, hey, I'm doing a career or I'm working at a store and, I want to start my own thing. Should I be honest with myself? Should I be honest with my family? Should I be honest with the work whatever, job I'm working at as well? How does someone take that first step? Is it reflection? Is it networking with other people? Is it research? For everyone, obviously it's different, but what approach would you recommend?
Oh wow,
Obviously,
that is
it's a
it's
deep
very,
question.
yeah, no, it's very broad. Um, Once again, it depends on the industry, depends on the position, depends on the opportunity, depends on the person, their
Of
drive.
course, yeah.
So too many variables to just streamline an answer. But just back to integrity and so forth, I don't think it's only related to business. I think in anything you do in life, you have to be
Integrity
true,
is a big thing, yeah.
true and honest. And unfortunately, yes, it's fewer and fewer that we see of that. Um, Now, tell this to everybody. You can't look at others, so you gotta look at yourself. So as long as you're happy internally with yourself, that's the
Mhm.
most important thing. So luckily, alhamdulillah, that the decisions I've made and I'm content, and everybody should be. That goes into the human level, and not only related to business. But back to your question about what should people consider. Ultimately, they have to understand it. Okay, what is business? I know many people, many individuals that have started business and have failed.
Of course, yeah.
And the biggest misconception of business is I want to be my own boss and set up my own hours
Exactly.
and just control my own destiny,
I want Saturday,
basically.
Sunday, and Mondays off every week.
And I said misconception because that couldn't be any more wrong um, of how they believe
Mhm.
initially it to be when it comes to playing it and then realizing that that's opposite. So as a business, again, I'm just saying an average. So there's different levels of business and um, different entries and so forth, but just using the general median, you have to be dedicated, you have to be committed, you have to work way more, you have to stress more, okay? You have to sacrifice more um, than being an employee, okay? Now, although I'm biased and I advocate for business, and if I meet somebody young, I try to push them towards business and say, "Hey, how come you haven't done your own, or have you considered doing your own?" And it's just not to necessarily encourage them by doing so, but I want them to just at least think about it. Okay, there's a lot of people they just think that's their way and they have no other options.
Mhm.
So bringing it up in the open and just having a dialogue sometimes gives them awareness of something that maybe they haven't been exposed to before. So understanding what business is the most important thing. Um, a great example is recently I had actually an employee of mine that said, "You know what? I'm going to start my own business." And I said, "Okay, why do you want to start your own business?" And he said, "Yeah, um, it's a little bit different than what this company does, but I want to be a little bit more artistic, more creative in the approach,
Mhm.
and kind of, same thing that I mentioned,
Yeah.
control my own destiny. If I get a contract, I can, make more than I do in a month, in a couple weeks."
Mhm.
So after sitting down with him, because he had no idea what business is, he just thought, "Hey, I have an opportunity. Um, I want to do a little bit different, and the only way I could think of is doing my own, going into my own business." And so I sat down with him and I said, "Okay, no problem. That's fine. That's wonderful. But at the same time, you know, we've had this relationship for over a decade, and I think you should consider sitting down for, 1 hour and let me lay out your business model and help you with your business plan.
Mhm.
And once you do that, then they will give you an idea, a clear idea of what you want to do. So we sat down and I said, okay, so, I'll mention numbers because nobody knows who this individual is,
Yeah.
right? So this individual is making 100,000 a year.
Okay.
Okay. So I said, you're making 100,000 a year. Do you know what your revenues have to be every month for you to make similar amount of money as you do currently? And he said, not really, but based on the couple of side jobs that I've received, and if I add those up, how many I get in a month, you know, I would make at least the same, if not more, than what I do here. So I'll be fine. I said, okay, wonderful. Was that a cash job? He said, yes. And I said, okay, so you're going to run a legal operation. That's not a business. So if you want to run a legitimate business, you have to have obviously proper record keeping and proper filings with the government, because otherwise it's not a business, it's an illegal activity.
Yeah.
So he said, no, I want to do it properly. I said, okay, so you want to do it properly. How much do you make a month? He said, yeah, basically, if I continue and I get a few contracts, I'll make, 10,000 a month. Okay, so you make 10,000 a month. Have you considered corporate taxes? And he said, oh, what's corporate taxes? I said, what is your income on that? He said, oh, my income on 10,000 is 70%.
Yeah.
I said, okay, from 7,000 as your income, how much corporate tax are you going to pay? And he said, I don't know about corporate tax. So I mentioned to him at that scale, and that Canada in particular, we pay the highest corporate tax
Yeah.
in most countries in the world. Okay. And not only corporate tax, but we also pay a lot of um, other, fees um, that have to be deducted, such as, EI, pension, medical benefits to employees if you have any, and stat holidays and sick days and holiday pay. And once you add all that up, that's a significant amount. So I said, are you planning on having an employee? He said, yeah, eventually. So again, we sat down and I did all the numbers. So long story short, when we did all the numbers, we realized that he was actually making a lot less than what he's currently making. And not only that, he would have to go and worry about getting a job pretty much on a regular basis,
Yeah.
whereas working, that would give him comfort. So once he actually realized what real business is and the numbers, he apologized to me and said, you know what, I'm sorry. I had no idea business involved so much, and I'm not going to be leaving, and I'll be staying here. So he's been now with us an extended 10 months since this has occurred. And instead, what we did is we created a path forward for that individual. So one day he can grow further and, earn even more through performance. So I tell a lot of people the same thing. I said, make sure you understand why you're going into business. Okay. Um, a lot of times, if your intention at the end of the day is to make the same amount or approximately the same amount as what you're currently making, well, then maybe you should consider about staying where you are and developing what you have currently,
Yeah.
and making the best of that. Because business comes with a lot of factors that people do not consider and a lot of risks. So since I started business about 20 years ago, I've had I've seen approximately 10 times more people fail than succeed in business. So please consider what you're doing. Okay. Meet with somebody, an advisor or business person, or tax expert or accounting expert, the more information, the more knowledge you have about what business is, what it entails, then it's gonna protect you and just safeguard you and not making the wrong move. Because ultimate goal of a business is making money. Okay, it's not a charity. It's not a non-for-profit organization. Yeah. So if you're becoming, an accountant, for example, um, you start as a bookkeeper, then you become as a intermediate, then maybe you want to become a controller, then you want to become a CFO, chief financial officer, and just maybe have your own firm one day. So that's a path of an accountant, for example. If you want to, work for a corporate world, you start off as a junior position, then become into management, and become an executive, and so it's kind of outlined. Whereas business, it's a wild factor to to consider. Um, so the more knowledge you have, the more understanding you have, it's going to set you up for success.
I completely agree with everything you've said. Even like um, for myself as well, taking that risk, quitting my job, going to what I'm going to right now. Um, it took like a year and a half of research to figure out, firstly, what industry do I even want to go in? Where can I find my passion, or where can I find that need in society that I could fulfill? How could I make myself different? What are the different variables that come into play? What do I need? How many finances do I need? What are the sacrifices? What happens if everything goes downhill? There's the saying I remember. I don't remember who said it, but it was, business is like bamboo. It takes a couple of years where it grows downwards, then it finally sprouts up. So you're not gonna really start making money right away. There's gonna be times where you're gonna be, in the red, where you don't know where you're gonna go. Is this gonna work out? Is it not? But you're slowly building that foundation where you're gonna kind of build up upon and solidify yourself. But exactly as how your employee said, he thought he had this whole completely different idea of business, right? Where he's like, oh, I'll just take contract, I'll make more money. But there's expenses, there's taxes, corporate taxes. He's like, if you're a business owner, there's so many different things you gotta know. How you register your business, different licenses you need, different people you got to be in contact with, bookkeeping, all that type of stuff. You don't want CRAs to come after you because that's not fun. Not fun at all. But the way you kind of outlined it for your employee, that's, again, for myself, that's not even how my employer did it. The company I was working with, I told them, I was like, I'm starting my own thing. It was great. It was great having, working here, but they almost guilt tripped to me to not doing it. They're like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't think this is the right thing for you. You think about it, you have a wife and two kids at home, you're studying. I don't think it's going to work out for you. You should probably stay here. But even in the back of my head, I'm like, end of the day, to this company, I'm just a 6-digit employee number. Layoffs come into play. I could be next. I've seen layoffs within the company year after year, and I'm like, it could be my time next year. You never know. But taking that risk, I do feel a lot better, and obviously, alhamdulillah, that's been working out. And hopefully, after this podcast, we'll go more detail with you, and hopefully, we can share some things and figure out some pathways. But one thing I wanted to ask as well. I'm not studying anything to do with business. I've never really taken any business courses. I'm a psychology major, so I find that's where I found my passion in terms of studies and career-wise. Hopefully, in the future, where I become a psychologist and help the community and help people in society. But um, did you take did you go to university for business, or would you recommend people to do that? Do you think it helps?
As I mentioned, the more knowledge you have, doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
So the path I took, I don't recommend it for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, Now, because I had a firm passion for business, I had analyzed and studied at a young age. So when I finished high school, I went to Douglas College for business administration,
Mhm.
and I went 1 year, but I didn't finish that year. And the reason being, it's again, I don't recommend this. So,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you my experience,
Yeah.
okay, and who I was as a person. Everybody's different, everybody's unique, everybody's journey is different. And when I went and we had professors lecturing us about business, I analyzed that this individual was passionate about business and he ventured out on his own business, but he was not successful.
Mhm.
And because he was not successful, here he was trying to teach us. And for me, it was very discouraging
Yeah.
because I want obviously to follow in the footsteps of somebody that's successful. Um, so instead of wasting that time finishing, and I decided that I'm gonna go on um, instead of studying and spending that tuition money in school. I'm actually gonna get to put that money into practical terms and go out there and start venturing out and taking small steps and making that happen.
Mhm.
So um, yeah, so that was my background. Now again, I don't recommend that for everybody. You have to kind of evaluate your situation. Um, Ultimately, knowledge is key. Whether you get that in schooling, whether you tag along with somebody that already experienced it. So my experiences in business and life, I don't think I could pay my tuition fees that I've paid in life is far more than anybody would pay in school. But I also believe that it was very rewarding, and I would pay that all over again to get the education and the skills that I've received in real life.
That's passion is a big thing, as you said. Hopefully I can find myself as passionate when it comes to my business, inshallah, hopefully, and slowly walk in your footsteps as well and figure out, where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to start a business and hopefully, build upon and start having employees one day and paying my taxes and not having the CRA after me. Uh, but how do you find yourself like obviously right now until you're successful and it takes a long path until you could actually achieve success and have employees and so on and so forth. But starting off, how how did you see your work life balance? Like, did you see your overkilling on work? You're not seeing the family too much, and but how do you balance it? So obviously, right now, me starting out, also figuring out that balance between work, because work calls, it's work, and obviously, I wanted to make my work work. I want to pay my bills, and then I have obviously family that have their own needs.
Yeah.
I also have my studies that needs its own time. But
Mhm.
how did you find yourself balancing it?
Um, yeah,
Obviously, it's different person to
it's
person,
it's
but
a different person to person, and
is there a
but
specific mindset you could follow, or
well, harder you work, the more you're gonna see success. So, the more effort you put into something, the rewards will come naturally in parallel. So for myself,
Mhm.
um, I was very committed and I sacrificed a lot. So it, luckily I had a, understanding wife, and, um, she understood my passion for business and what I wanted to accomplish, and I had full support. So that goes a long way. Um, Now, again, I don't recommend it for everybody. Um, but my situation and circumstances were different
Mhm.
and unique to myself. So it allowed me, you know, to process, proceed the way I did. But ultimately, it's a sacrifice, and that's what I chose. Um, you know, um, Great example. Um, Recently, I have been on holidays, real vacation for 2.5 years,
Oh my.
and ask yourself a question: are you and your family willing to do that? And if not, that's okay. And I would recommend everybody to go on regular vacations, multiple times a year at least once a year. Um, so some people's desire are different, and they choose to conduct in a certain way. Um, when I tell the story to somebody, um, they say, "Well, go ahead. Why don't you?" But then, for my personal journey, it hasn't stopped. My journey is ongoing. In fact, I believe I'm at an early stage of my journey still. I got a long way to go. So because of that, I have to continue. The struggles and the compromises, uh, their typical life. One day, inshallah, everything works out. Um, then perhaps it's going to change. But the current situation presents itself that I'm in a journey still, and it's still in its early stages. So um, balance, very unique to individuals. Um, um, Once again, we go back to what the intent is of that
Mhm.
individual that wants to get into business. So if the intent is just take a different role and be an operator, owner operator, well, maybe perhaps you have more luxury, of the balance. Uh, Others, where they want to get into the corporate world and create something grander,
Yeah.
then that comes with more sacrifice, more challenges. Um, if you know someone is into a business of, let's say, technology and AI, and they they found something very unique, all of a sudden, in a very short time, you know, somebody could come and say, "Hey, I'll take that over," and now their whole life is set.
Mhm.
So business is very unique. Business has so many different tangibles. Um, it's something that we you can learn what business is about, understand the principles of business, understand all the variables and aspects of business. But in business, your path is so different and so unique. Different industries, different situations, different
Mhm.
conditions. Even, for example, let's say I had the best idea. I know business. I have the greatest business idea. Um, I have the money for it. I have the capital for it, and I started a business in COVID time, and all of a sudden COVID happened, and for the next 2 years, I have no clients, no customers because everything on the shutdown.
Yeah.
Well, that has nothing to do with that human being that has done everything possible to create that business. So the conditions in life, sometimes the periods, the variables, the factors, sometimes it's out of your control, and um, um, your destiny is set,
Mhm.
um, or I should say preset by the conditions that's outside of your control. You can prevent that. You can obviously minimize the damage by being aware and being diversified a little bit. I had, for example, I'll give you another
I know.
example. I had a company that um, started a supply business,
Mhm.
for decorative products,
Yeah.
and he was importing and so forth. And all of a sudden, the same story I was telling you about period of COVID happened. So he put a whole bunch of money down, and actually, in fact, he was telling me the story not too long ago, and COVID hit, and he said the worst time ever. COVID hit, and I'm going to sell these, and there's a sign on the door that says no visitors,
Yeah.
shut down, lockdown. Everybody's office, you got to be by appointment. So I can't meet anybody. I can't do sales calls. I can't do nothing. And this guy is a legitimate business person because when he faced those challenges, okay, he mitigated his risks
Mhm.
and found different opportunities under the circumstance that presented it. So what he did is he went and said, "Oh, okay, how can I make myself functionable during this time, even though if it's a short period of time, so I can survive?" And what he did is, those plastic screens.
Yep.
When you go to the banks, when you go to restaurants, when you go anybody customer service, they had those plexiglass.
Still have it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he started importing those plastics and going out there himself and installing them. Now nobody uses those plastics anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they're gone, they're obsolete. But because he shifted his gear and managed to bring the money in and operate and survive during that time. So once he survived during that period, um, then market opened up again, and now today he's thriving in his original business.
Mm-hmm.
So that lesson, that story can hopefully help some people by understanding that you might have a path, okay, but there's going to be so many challenges and so many variables that come in that if you are not diversified, if you don't shift your gears, if you don't strategize, plan, and just be ready for anything, kind of a mentality, then you might not make it, but if you do, then you have a greater chance of success.
Mm-hmm. Having that ability to fit critically, just hop on something. He found a need and he fulfilled it right away, and that kind of kept him going. That's, I've seen so many different stories throughout COVID, different companies shutting down and other companies thriving. Obviously, there's opportunity no matter which way the world goes. If it goes sideways, you look the other way and other people are thriving.
Yeah.
But one thing you did say as well for, when it came to work-life balance, all that type of stuff. And this is one thing that so far all of my guests have said, mashallah, it's that throughout their sacrifices, throughout their journey to achieve success and become the people they are today, and they all had a supportive spouse, someone who supported their passion and was understanding. And so to all the sisters out there, inshallah, to your husbands or those who are looking to get married, I guess the beginning of the journey is not always easy. It's not always certain, but
No, sure.
just having that mindset and just knowing that, hey, I'm supporting my partner, and this is
yes, it's very important.
It's very important.
Actually, that's an important aspect because, especially for business individuals, it's a lot of risk. It's a lot of unknown, a lot of pressure. That comes with it. And if you don't have that support, to ease that pressure, okay. Now, imagine, you're young, okay, and you're newlywed, and you're beginning of your career, whether it's being an employee or business, but in business in particular because of the unknown factors, having that support actually empowers you. Okay, so my story, my journey is I got married prior to my business. So my business was established after marriage. A lot of young people, individuals say, "No, I want to be established person,
Exactly, yeah.
so I can provide."
Have 3 houses, 2 cars, 3 businesses, and then again.
Yeah, even one car, even one rental residence that they can pay, right? They say, I need to be established, and to some degree, I had that thought as well. But luckily, um, you know, um, my circumstances that occurred, I didn't have anything in terms of the business establishment. And once you do it together with the support of your spouse, it actually feels much better. Okay. Because then you're united and you feel that you did it together. So for the spouse, either way, whether it's, male spouse or female spouse, supporting each other is very important. And if you understand and you're in it together, okay, you win together, and hopefully, if you lose together, it's understanding.
Yes.
Okay, so um, it just feels better when you do it together and you win together. That way, that accomplishment and the journey is shared.
Of course.
Okay. Yes.
MashaAllah. So again, sisters, support your husbands.
And
likewise.
and brothers. Exactly.
And likewise.
Yes.
Um, Thank you so much for your time today. And again, for myself specifically, I hope also the audience as well. I do feel more inspired and also just having that mindset of thinking a little more critically as well and being open to change and open to adapt. That's one big thing. And hopefully, inshallah, find myself to be far more successful in the business industry that I've started. And inshallah, with some of your guidance and some of your advice, I could move forward with that as well. Before we end the podcast, I usually have this one thing that I ask all the guests. So I'm going to ask you now
Mhm.
is what's one piece of advice you'd like to leave our audience?
In regards to business, just be as informed as you can be. And really understand what business is, really understand your business plan, um, lay it out, meet with successful people that have paid the price to get there,
Yeah.
um, and just engulf yourself with knowledge and information. Um, it could be very rewarding. Business could be rewarding. Business is what drives the world. Okay? So obviously, uh, I would love to see individuals, especially from community, be thriving. That would give us pleasure. Um, on a side note, we have recently, me and my team, we've recently, started um, a small foundation, and that foundation provides some support for future entrepreneurs.
Mashallah.
And what we started is we want to help individuals by saying, okay, what is your plan? What is your model? What do you got going on? And based on that, we would be honest with them, right? Whether it's possible or not. Now, the people that we believe are on the right path, we will be providing some capital support, okay? Whether as angel investors, capital, you know, injection to further them along, um, no interest loans even. So this is not only reserved for us. There's many other people that do similarly. So if anybody's thinking of going into business, reach out.
Yeah, reach
Okay.
out, guys.
So
Yeah,
individuals like myself and my group have that
mashallah.
channel available for them to
That's
utilize.
beautiful.
And you know, um, we always have to pay it forward, right? Um, um, the struggles that I faced, not necessarily others should face.
Mhm.
If we provide them all these resources.
Mashallah.
That includes yourself. So
There
after
you go.
this,
We'll have
let's
a
sit
12 chat.
down.
Inshallah. Thank you again for coming on, and inshallah, we look forward to having you host
My pleasure.
inshallah another time, next time soon, have you on this desk here, and we can share some more stories and some more thoughts about business.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll do it the other way next time. Maybe your
I'll sit over
business will,
there.
maybe your
Yeah.
business will be so successful that I will start learning from you.
Well, let's make it happen, hopefully, inshallah. Thank you guys for tuning in for today's podcast. It was a pleasure having Brother Ferose here. And inshallah, we look forward to having you guys tune in again next week. Thank you again. Jazakallah khair. And until next time. Thank you.
Welcome.